goals of the peace and conflict resolution education are to raise the level of educational service in schools, to reduce the number of conflicts with violent outcomes, to contribute to the peaceful resolution of conflicts within schools and communities, thus to create a peaceful environment in our schools. Basic principles of peace and conflict resolution education are: conflicts are an inseparable part of our lives. Conflicts have not only negative but also positive impact. Conflicts with violent outcomes in schools can be prevented. Important stages of the Peace Education Project. The Peace and Conflict Resolution Education course has been developed and tested in 16 schools of Shirak region. A comprehensive research was carried out with the goal of evaluating the impact of peace education on school children several years after the studies. In cooperation with the Republic of Armenia National Institute of Education, the pedagogical guidebook Peaceful Conflict Resolution Education in Schools and the practical handbook Peace and Conflict Resolution Education in Schools, along with the corresponding visual materials, were developed and published. More than 1,400 teachers and 230 vice principals in the field of educational assistance of 230 schools from 11 regions of Armenia have participated in the training. During 2011 to 2012, the main course of Peace and Conflict Resolution Education has been taught among 32,000 school children in 11 regions of Armenia. Dear teachers, it is a great pleasure for me to greet you here today. The purpose of our meeting is to discuss the results of classes on peace and conflict resolution, your accomplishments, the feedback from school children, and the behavioral changes you have noticed after these classes. I have participated in most of the peace and conflict resolution classes, and I have noticed great excitement among school children. The posters have been displayed in the classroom. During a conflict situation, school children would point out a situation on the poster and explain a possible or suggested solution. Teachers have been working with great pleasure. For example, the peace classes at Ms. Anjik Mardoyan's class were scheduled for the last 8th hour, and the classroom of 32 school children would stay until 4 o'clock with great excitement. When studying the fourth topic on principles of conflict resolution, students suggested to discuss this topic together with their parents. During the discussion on Parents' Day, one of the students made a remark: "From now on, none of you should have conflicts with each other, neither mothers nor grandmothers." It was very unexpected. Perhaps the student had a similar situation in their family. Gemma is one of the most problematic students in my class, and she kept saying that it's simply impossible to avoid conflict in our class. At the end of the course, when she had to mention one most important principle of conflict management, she said, "I want to mention all of them because they all are important, and now I have started to think about these principles." Students were eagerly listening to find out the concept of conflict. As soon as I explained and provided some daily examples, they brought their numerous examples of conflict situations. One of the parents even called me and wanted to know what we have studied at school, because her son Petros has been talking about conflicts, its roots, and possible solutions at home. She said that the classes have a positive impact on Petros because, for example, now he is not arguing with his younger brother over a toy. By nature, I'm trying to avoid conflict. However, it is one thing when it comes naturally. For example, when you feel that you should not argue further with your boss, your husband, or an older person, and it is totally different when you have organized knowledge and exactly know your steps. The classes also help teachers and adults. It has helped me in my family. I was even thinking to take one of the posters home so that my 4 children would see what they look like when they are having a fight with each other. What did the peace education course give to me? I have 25 years of teaching experience, and before going through the teacher's handbook, I thought that I already had the necessary knowledge and skills about conflict management. However, after reading, I felt that maybe we as teachers lack in certain skills when we not intentionally provoke a conflict in the classroom. For example, when we say to a student, the French teacher also complains about you, and we would not pay attention to this one sentence. We have some conflicting teachers in our school, so I gave the handbook to these teachers and suggested them to read and analyze. I am the teacher of mathematics and I have displayed the posters in my classroom. All students from 5th to 12th grade enter my classroom almost every day. Everyone was very interested in the posters. Even during the math class, when I noticed the interest, I would spend 5 minutes to analyze these posters. I have noticed that it has not been in vain. It is interesting that I was planning to carry out a discussion on conflict management and received the invitation to participate in this training. Therefore, you have helped me to better understand and teach the topic. I can say one thing. The course has had a great positive impact, to the point that even during breaks, students will come and analyze a conflict according to the posters displayed. There is one girl in the class, she is very aggressive. Any conflict and problem in the class would somehow relate to her. She has now changed so much that when I ask whose fault was it, everyone says, it's not Lilith, someone else but not Lilith, she has changed. One problem that students often mention is that they have learned to control and manage their conflicts, but others do not know and they promote to continue the argument. I always say that you should continue applying these skills and knowledge. Apply until they too will learn. Teach them. After the first 3 topics, students told me that some of the classmates had a conflict with each other a few months ago, and it had remained unsolved. However, it's interesting that after the first 3 topics of conflict resolution, they realized that they need to be more tolerant and decided to analyze and solve that problem. When talking about the skills of conflict management and its practical application, especially boys have mentioned that they can apply these skills and find a peaceful solution when they are calm. But when they are already involved in a conflict situation, they just fail to find a peaceful solution. Despite this, I think that the course has a positive influence on students. Honestly, I have noticed behavioral changes among the most conflicting students. Sometimes, even the students try to remind us about the principles of conflict management. There was this one example during my class. A few days ago, I asked one of the students to show his homework, but he had not prepared the homework. I was very angry and decided to mark negative on him. One of the smartest students in the classroom stood up and said, "Miss Kiragosyan, don't get me wrong, but let's not make a decision when you are angry. This is one of the principles of conflict management." I calmed down and accepted her suggestion. So students are able to direct us, and in this case, she did not let me to make a decision while I was angry. It is very important that we as teachers and parents are the first to apply these skills. It is very good that children themselves remind us of these skills. When Miss Barteresian was talking, I wanted to interrupt, but then I remembered one of the principles of conflict resolution. That is being able to listen, and I decided not to interrupt. That's true. First of all, we learn as teachers and adults. Only few people have the ability to listen to each other. Therefore, the principle of listening is very important for teachers as well. It contributes to the relationship between students and teachers. The students were very excited about the Peace and Conflict Resolution Education course. One of the 5th grade students came in the morning and said that she had a dream about a kind grandfather. Based on this story, the class decided to organize a week of kind activities. I was surprised that students thought that each conflict resolution should be concluded with a kind activity. So they organized a week of kind activities in the school, prepared this poster with the grandfather of kindness, and wrote down 7 holy things: the motherland, the mother, the faith, the language, the creating spirit, respect, and the land. The students were separated into a few groups, and each group did a certain good work. Then they have written down these activities on the poster. I displayed the poster immediately after the training, and I still had 2 or 3 days before the scheduled peace class. Students had been looking at the posters, analyzing them, and asking to start explaining the topics. They started introducing the topic, brought their examples, and honestly, I did not take an active part in this process. I was merely a listener. I was so happy to observe them applying these skills. When a conflict was about to start, one of them would say, "Be careful not to let it escalate from level 1 to level 2. We all appreciate this course. We are so thankful for this project, especially taking into account its positive impact. The students of 9th grade have initiated and created these posters. They have painted these posters themselves and entitled them Peace in Danger, with the world map, various parts of the world. When I told the students about this course, they were all very excited and were saying that it is an important topic for them because they have conflicts all the time. They even say that most of their conflicts are with the teachers. It is true, there are a lot of teachers who are not tolerant. Especially the boys got very interested and excited in these topics. They brought so many examples and stories. I was aware of these problems because I have also tried to help them in finding solutions. But of course, now I have profound knowledge and skills to manage these situations. Our school is located in a rather problematic and criminal area, and therefore there are numerous problems with not only students but also their parents. That's why we are trying to organize and implement many extracurricular activities so that these students will be as busy as possible. I think that this education should be started especially at young age, and parents have to be engaged in these activities, because there are a lot of parents who provoke conflicts. Parents have been asking me about the conflict classes we have at school, because the students kept talking about conflicts and conflict resolution at home. Students ask for more classes on these topics. The positive outcome is obvious. We all just need to continue working. Unless we keep working, it will turn into a one-time activity without real impact. This is not a one-time event. This is a process, and we all have observed the positive changes and influence on students. Therefore, we need to work further. One of the parents participated in an event organized in the frames of peace and conflict resolution classes. This is something new for our school. In other words, we had a parent-student-teacher collaboration to organize this event. Our goal in this project was to teach the conflict resolution skills to students so that they will be able to apply those skills, moreover, pass it to others, within families and friends. I think we have accomplished this. During the classes, students brought examples and analyzed situations, and it was very impressive to observe. We will continue the classes starting from the next academic year in September. You are directly working in the schools every day, and now you have already seen the results of the course. After this, I am convinced that each of you will include these topics into your schedules, teach directly and indirectly. Students find solutions and analyze independently. I have seen so many creative and interesting classes in the frames of the course. I wish the academic classes would be equally exciting for students. There are some projects which do not have real long-term impact. I think this is one of those which bring practical skills and real positive changes. It is a pity that we were limited to 5 schools only, because I believe all schools need to be involved. All the classes were impressive, even some of them were shown on local television. I felt that students were in need of these skills. They were eager to learn. I'm happy because I have felt exactly the same when we were directly working with the students. I think that the project is very important, and especially at this young age, because students easily get involved in conflicts with each other over a simple issue. That's why we should start at school. I have observed so many interesting discussions. I could not imagine that students at 5th grade can analyze conflict situation, give quick and logical responses. On behalf of everyone, I would like to thank the NGO Women for Development for lightening us, for their assistance and the valuable materials provided. Based on this, we will be able to educate healthy generation and society. Thank you for involving our region in the project. This is very real. We need to make the peace culture a reality and lifestyle in our schools. Even the adults have a lot to learn from this, because if there is a relationship, then there is a conflict. Conflict management and correct conclusion requires skills and certain approaches. There are situations in our reality which cannot be avoided, but can have a peaceful solution. It is interesting that when we say that conflicts are necessary in our lives, students get very surprised. However, conflicts are indeed the fundament for development. Without such situations, we will not be able to fix relationships. Therefore, it is very important. Students have performed fairy tales. They analyzed the wolf and lamp, an Armenian fable where the wolf is powerful and has control over the lamp. Discussing the conflict, students said that it is not correct to always be weak and to do whatever wolf orders. We should do our best for a peaceful resolution, but should not behave like lamp. I was impressed. To be honest, I know the life here, the opportunities as well as the problems in Yerevan, and they are different from the regions of Armenia. It is more than valuable that students and teachers in Yerevan gave the same feedback, because there are more problems and conflicts in schools here in comparison with the schools in smaller towns or villages. I am happy that students, teachers, and principals were interested in these topics. This is the first step. And you should continue the work, involve parents and other schools, because you have already seen the cultural changes and positive influence. We already said that we cannot accompany our children all the time. However, we can give them knowledge to manage conflicts. When students cite from posters, highlight the principles of conflict management, and remind each other about those skills, we can say that the goals have been achieved. This is, however, a long process. It cannot be accomplished in a short period. The project is very interesting. It will be wrong to say that such education or such trainings have not been carried out in our schools. This was another opportunity to bring our attention on these problems, giving the students necessary skills and knowledge to control conflicts. In any case, they manage these situations. Our task is to direct them for a positive outcome. Of course, it is not always possible to have a positive solution in all cases. We as adults have a lot to learn from this. We have skills, but we may fail when it comes to practical application. After all, we are educating our future citizens who will enter into different life situations and need to control their relations. We have to work all together in order to change the environment in our schools. By the way, we also change through this process. We thank you for involving in this project, for your treatment and for observing the changes. As already mentioned, Mr. Nazarian, we have also changed. We want to have our appreciation written on paper, so that you will not forget that you have worked with us. This is only the first step of our collaboration. We all appreciate this project and the educational topics it has touched. We are always ready to work and assist you in your future initiatives.